Good morning and welcome to the City Planning Commission public meeting. And Mr. Secretary.
Good morning, Chairman Weisbrod, members of the City Planning Commission. This is the City Planning Commission public meeting being held in Spector Hall at 22 Reade Street. Today is Wednesday, May 11th, 2016, and it is now 10:05. As a courtesy during the proceedings, we ask that you please turn off all cell phones and beepers. All speakers should fill out a speaker's card at the desk outside of Spector Hall. In addition, we ask that those providing testimony please identify yourselves, limit your remarks to 3 minutes, and speak clearly into the microphone. I will now call the roll. Chairman Weisbrod.
Here.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Here.
Commissioner Besser.
Here.
Commissioner Cantor.
Here.
Commissioner Cirillo.
Here.
Commissioner De La Uz.
Here.
Commissioner Dweck. Commissioner Edie. Commissioner Efron.
Here.
Commissioner Knight. Commissioner Levin.
Here.
Commissioner Marin.
Here.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Here.
A quorum is present. The first item is the approval of the minutes of the special meetings of Monday, April 25th, 2016, and Monday, May 9th, 2016.
On the minutes, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Any opposed? Any in favor? All in favor?
Yes.
Let's do those first. Before we ask for the opposed. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The minutes, Mr. Secretary, are approved.
Scheduling on calendar numbers 1, 2, and 3, we have resolutions for adoption scheduling Wednesday, May 25th, 2016, for a public hearing to be held in Spector Hall, 22 Reade Street.
On the resolutions, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The resolutions, Mr. Secretary, are approved.
The next part of the calendar is the report section, beginning on page 5. Borough of Queens, calendar number 4, Community Districts 12 and 13, N160225 BDQ, in the matter of an application concerning the establishment of the Greater JFK Business Improvement District. For a favorable report on calendar number 4, Chairman Weisbrod.
I will just comment that I assume all of you received the letter from the Port Authority indicating their strong support for this bid, and our role here is limited to begin with, and I enthusiastically vote aye.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor.
Yes.
Commissioner Cirillo.
Yes.
Commissioner De La Uz.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight. Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes, and I'd like to add that I'm also pleased to see that the Port Authority provided a letter of support. I think regional economic growth requires collaboration, and this is a great first step. So I vote aye.
Our favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 4. Borough of Queens, calendar numbers 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Community District 7, calendar number 5, C160138 ZMQ. Calendar number 6, N160139 ZRQ. Calendar number 7, C160140 ZSQ. Calendar number 8, C160141 ZSQ. Calendar number 9, C160143 HAQ. And the matter of applications for amendments to the zoning map and zoning text, special permits, and the designation of an urban development action area and project, and for the disposition of such property concerning 1 Flushing. For a favorable report on calendar numbers 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor. Commissioner Cirillo.
Yes.
Commissioner De La Uz.
Happily vote yes, and good to know that, that this much-needed affordable housing and other commercial space for local businesses is moving forward.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
Favorable reports have been adopted on calendar numbers 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Borough of Brooklyn, calendar number 10. Community District 8, N160255 HKK. In the matter of a landmark designation concerning the East New York Savings Bank Parkway Branch Building. For a favorable report on calendar number 10, Chairman Weisbrod.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser.
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor.
Yes.
Commissioner Cirillo.
Yes.
Commissioner De La Uz.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
A favorable report has been adopted on calendar number 10. Borough of Staten Island, calendar number 11, Community District 2, N160130ZCR, in the matter of an application for the grant of a certification concerning 112 Iron Mine Drive for adoption of calendar number 11. Chairman Weisbrod,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Knuckles.
Yes.
Commissioner Besser,
Yes.
Commissioner Cantor.
Yes.
Commissioner Cirillo.
Yes.
Commissioner De La Hoz.
Yes.
Commissioner Efron.
Yes.
Commissioner Knight, Commissioner Levin.
Yes.
Commissioner Marin.
Yes.
Commissioner Ortiz.
Yes.
Calendar number 11 has been adopted. The next part of the calendar is the public hearing section on page 11. Borough of Brooklyn, calendar number 12, Community District 6, N160299HKK, a public hearing in the matter of a landmark designation concerning the Park Slope Historic District Extension 2.
I see no one has signed up. Is there anyone here who wishes to be heard on this matter? And seeing and hearing no one, this highly controversial hearing is now closed.
Chairman, if I could just say, I know that the Park Slope Civic Council, in particular Peter Bray, who worked on this for a long time, are very happy that this is moving forward.
He could have come and smelled the roses, but instead is celebrating in solitude. Anyway, the hearing is closed. Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Borough of Queens, calendar number 13, Community District 1, N160276PXQ, a public hearing in the matter of a notice to intent to acquire office space concerning 36-36 33rd Street.
The first speaker is Julie Friesen, Friesen, Deputy Commissioner from DOMH.
DOHMH.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. Morning, Chair Weisbrod and members of the Planning Committee. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to testify before you today. My name is Julie Friesen, and as you said, I'm the Deputy Commissioner of Administration for the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. I'm here today to speak in support of our application for additional space. Some of you may not know, but in spring of 2011, about 5 years ago, the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene consolidated our headquarters from a number of buildings in Lower Manhattan into a leased building in Long Island City, Queens, where we operate today. In fact, about half of our 6,000 employees work out of the one leased building in Long Island City, Queens. We're the sole tenant in that building. Since early 2014, our agency's been fortunate to receive almost 1,000 additional positions, newly funded positions, for new and expanded initiatives, which I'll describe in a moment. It's exciting to be in extreme growth mode, which we are. It's unprecedented for us. However, we're basically bursting at the seams. Our building in Long Island City is full, and we therefore had the need to lease some additional space in the vicinity of our headquarters. Our mission is to protect and promote the health of New Yorkers. We do that by undertaking a broad range of activities, more than most people realize, in fact, which are both regulatory and service-oriented in nature. Some examples are issuing birth and death certificates and maintaining the city's vital records, providing clinical services in our 13 clinics, testing air and water quality, providing mental health services, conducting restaurant and daycare center inspections, operating animal shelters through our contractors, the Animal Care Center, conducting community health surveys and publishing reports about the health status of New Yorkers, providing school-based health services to students, promoting a regulatory agenda through the Board of Health, and doing media campaigns to address chronic diseases, responding to disease outbreaks and emergencies, such as Ebola, Zika virus, and more. While we do our work in all 5 boroughs, including numerous district health centers, our public health lab at 455 First Avenue, across from Bellevue Hospital, 125 Worth Street, where we still do have a presence, and lease sites all over the city, Queens hosts, as I said, our main headquarters, and therefore it makes the most sense to expand our presence there to accommodate the growing programs that can't fit into our current building. Some of the expanded initiatives are in the school health program. For example, their asthma case management program, reproductive health services for high school students, and the vision screening program. These have all grown and require expanded central office staff, as well as staff in the schools. Some of the new initiatives we're implementing include Thrive NYC, which is a mayoral First Lady priority, which is an expansion of mental health services, training, and outreach to reduce stigma and connect New Yorkers to mental health care, which also includes a significant school health component. Almost done. New York City Safe, which will create co-response teams with NYPD to address the seriously mentally ill and attempt to de-escalate negative outcomes and link these individuals to care and services. Ending the HIV epidemic, which will enhance testing, outreach, education, and services in STD clinics, as well as enhanced HIV surveillance. Neighborhood Health Action Centers, under the purview of our Center for Health Equity, which will focus on underserved neighborhoods with disparate health outcomes. And Legionella Cooling Towers Initiative, which will allow us to adhere to recent legislation regarding cooling tower inspections. There are more, but those are the highlights. So in all cases, there will be no clients or members of the public visiting these proposed lease sites. These sites will be administrative offices only for health department employees. So thank you again for allowing me to testify. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. Let me just ask a question. I know that we have two separate office leases before us today, both from your department, and were you looking for one space that could consolidate both of these uses, both of these offices, and wouldn't it be better administratively to have one larger space close to your new headquarters in Long Island City?
That would be nice, but, we work closely with DCAS, and, these folks are getting hired now, so we're really under the crunch of time. 2 floors became available at the City Core building. We understand there's an opportunity for more, possibly in that building in the future. And we're entering into a short-term arrangement on 33rd Street, so that's a possibility for the future.
So from your perspective, the idea would be if more space became available in the City Court building,
Yep.
you would end, when
Yes.
it was terminated, your lease at 33rd Street and consolidate everything
Yes.
into City Court.
If it's possible. Otherwise, we can live with this.
Thank you. Questions for Commissioner Friesen? Ms. Efron, then Ms. Ortiz.
Oh, sorry, I missed Elders. You wanna go?
And I didn't see Ms. Ellis.
Just a quick question. Since it is considerable amount of new funding and some of the initiatives are new initiatives, how long is the funding for, or do you have any idea what the term of these projects will be?
Right now, it's our baseline budget funding. There's no end to it, It's like, it's there.
Ms. Ortiz and Ms. Delos.
Along those lines of sort of the attempt to consolidate, the One Court Square is until 2020, the lease is until 2020, correct?
Yes,
And then there would be an attempt to renegotiate at that
for a
time.
longer term, yes.
But what about 3636? I couldn't,
So we're also there until 2020.
okay.
There's a possibility, I understand the landlord's interested in a longer-term arrangement with us there as well, and we'll pursue that. But, if something opens up at City Core again, we would like to longer-term kind of be in one place.
Okay, so the timing is such that both would be up in 2020, and you might have an opportunity at that time
Yes.
to
But
revisit.
I think the intent is we're going to start looking at the long-term arrangement well before 2020.
Yes, no,
Yeah.
of course. And along those lines of the ongoing funding, I'm curious, the increase in funding, what percentage of that is that of your general budget? What were you before and what are you at now?
I'm not our CFO. I'll have to get back to you on that. I know we received, a lot of additional funds, but I don't want to say the number.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Delos.
Thanks for being here, and thanks for going over the depth and breadth of what the agency does, even just briefly. As someone who worked for many years in mental health, I have an appreciation for how critical those services are. I'm just wondering, you said 1,000 new staff members, new positions. Is there even more growth anticipated beyond that? Or will these spaces pretty much take care of the agency's need for the next 5 years or so?
We think, to the best of our ability and our knowledge, and in conversations with OMB, we're kind of hearing that there's no way that, we could grow this much again in the next couple of years, or the next several years. We're pretty much, maxed out for growth.
Right. Absent a major crisis, I guess, right, which hope none of us want, right?
True enough.
Any other questions for Commissioner Friesen? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Dale Lazarson. Welcome back, Ms. Lazarson. Seems like forever since we've seen you.
Good morning on this gorgeous May Day, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Julie. Terrific to get to know this great agency. All right, so you've heard all about operations. I'm going to answer a few questions that were asked and touch on some things that were discussed on Monday. So DCAS, as you know, is a co-applicant for this particular acquisition of office space. We are in favor of it very much. While this particular office space is to be located in Queens, borough number 4, it's really good to know that from an overall office market perspective, Queens is actually number 3 in the Class A and Class B office supply, its inventory. So in terms of just, Queens itself, as we know, is a very dynamically diverse and growing borough. The overall market for office space in Queens is 34 million. And that, again, is Class A and Class B space, and for comparison purposes, Manhattan is 395 million square feet. Brooklyn is 46 million, and then the Bronx and Staten Island follow. So we've got a good bit of traction going on in Queens. The vacancy rate in Queens in general for the overall supply, again, is about 21% for combined Class A, Class B. For Manhattan, by comparison purposes, is about 10%. New construction is also landing in Queens for Class A, Class B, about 350,000 square feet forthcoming. So again, it's very dynamic from a real estate perspective. As Julie mentioned, the Department of Mental Health and Hygiene is currently located at 2 Gotham in Queens, otherwise known as 4201 28th Street. The proposed expansion site is 33rd Street, so just a few blocks away, per se. The building is owned by an entity called City View Plaza, which actually the partners behind that are Alma Realty. And you may be familiar with Alma Realty. They are the driving development force behind the Astoria Cove development. Yeah? And in 2011-12, Alma also took a very distressed building at 3030 Northern Boulevard in Queens and renovated that for a dynamic mixed use. So Alma Realty is a Long Island City-centric, owned, operated family. They are very dynamic in their real estate posture. The building, as presented on Monday to you, is a 5-story building. It's about 195,000 square feet. There is a connected 2-story garage. It was built in the 1940s, and as you also heard on Monday, it was renovated in the early 2000s with new finishes, upgrades. The main entrance and the floor, the portion of the floor on which DOH is proposed to expand its staff. The 5th floor is improved to accommodate for handicapped persons. DOH proposes to lease a portion of the 5th floor, approximately 27,000 square feet. The term of the lease, actually, upon execution, it's a direct lease with the owner, is for 5 years. There are also additional renewal options and an opportunity to terminate if a consolidation plan or other activities come to be.
Thank you. I have a few questions about this. What's the vacancy rate currently in the 33rd Street? You know?
0.
Zero, if this lease is signed,
That's
there'll be no
correct.
vacancy?
Yes, there's no more available space right now. That's correct.
Do you have, as part of the lease here, just given the ultimate goal of consolidating Department of Health and Mental Health as much as possible, expansion rights, options?
Yeah, we're discussing that with the landlord now. There are other tenants in the building. It's a lot of smaller tenants, and so the opportunity for a right of first offer, a right of first refusal, can be a little challenging, but we are discussing that now. That said, because the owner is very interested in our continued tenancy by offering us renewal options, obviously expansion is also attractive to him.
And did you say this is 195,000 square foot?
The building itself is about 195,000 square feet, yeah. It's actually the tallest building in this particular area, which is nice. So other than for the ground level, it gets terrific light on all sides except for the north side, which is windowless.
Would DOH be the largest tenant?
I don't believe so. You know, there is another large tenant in the building. I can get back to you.
And are there other public agencies in the building?
You know, I don't believe so, no. No, thank you. Yeah. Any other questions about this building or?
Well, those are my questions. Mr. Cantor?
Along the same lines as the chair, isn't City Core now doing a major alteration, upgrading a facility on not on Water Street, on the west side?
On Greenwich.
Greenwich Street, thank you.
So,
Why don't we hold the Court Square, because they're going to come back on courts, on the City Court buildings. This is on 33rd Street still.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I was,
I mean, we can deal with them both together, but recognize they're going to come back on 33rd Street.
but on that topic, with respect to DOH's proposed tenancy at 33rd Street, so the space that's proposed was recently vacated by a former advertising company. It's primarily built out. So one of the things about, you know, consolidation strategy required now, would it make sense? As Deputy Commissioner Friesen mentioned, timing is of the essence right now to seat these employees. And so part of our search criteria was proximity to Gotham, but also what could be occupied relatively quickly without significant improvement. And so in this space, not only does some furniture exist in workstations, but there are some built offices, and there is a tremendous wide open space built with, again, partial workstations, but also some of the half-height sheetrock open workstations that you often see in an architectural firm, for example. So it'll be very quick for them to be able to occupy and get going in the space. That was also very important to us.
Other questions?
I-
Ms. Efron?
It does sort of address both this and the next matter before us, but how does the department make a decision about Class A versus Class B office space when proximity doesn't seem to be the defining factor as it was in previous leases you've brought before us in the last month?
So it depends on, when DCAS is searching with, it's a combined effort with our agencies as to what the criteria is, but when we search for supply for office space, we are going to cast a market and cast a net for all office space. We don't segregate ABC. What happens is when we then find that supply and we look at it, we will look at a number of things, including the pricing, whether or not it makes sense. You know, we are not a private sector. We have a fiduciary responsibility. So sometimes the finishes and the amenities that you may get with a Class A building, which goes to the rent, aren't necessary for the city. So pricing is one component, which may eliminate some Class A product. Class B product could be eliminated if it's in a distressed condition. You know, what constitutes Class A, Class B? That's always a great argument over lunch with any of our team members. You know, amenities. In Manhattan, there's not much of a difference given there are so many amenities in the area. But in this particular section of Long Island City, you know, the opportunity for amenities in a building or in the immediate area may separate a Class B, Class A. So, you know, short story long, Commissioner Efron, I think it's a question of what's available. We set aside the class and we look at all of the other criteria. We really don't too much give consideration to the class. It's about what is offered, at what price, and does it meet all the other criteria? Delivery, credit standing of the ownership's interest in working with the city, other tenants in a building, the condition of a building, et cetera, and how it will support the operation intended.
Thank you.
And I didn't mean to cut you off, Mr. Cantor. If you have questions about this particular building, or because one Court Square is going to be,
I was going to address the Court Square opportunities.
okay, that's next. So, Ms. Ortiz?
Hi. One quick question. So, you know, there's obviously a large increase in the budget. You know, one question I think that's sort of alluded to is the degree to which that will remain in place over time. What happens in the event that future decisions are made that would, you know, bring the budget back in line to what it may have been in the past? What are the sort of contingencies and what happens in that case, just out of curiosity?
Well, from a real estate perspective, I can offer that our goal is to live by the exit strategy. So Certainly termination rights are negotiated early termination rights in leases when they're available to us. On some short-term deals, they're short enough where they may not be available, but the reality is the city's leasing pace, and even a change of an operation for an agency, if there was a forthcoming change, the likelihood that it would be implemented right now is very low. However, if it's implemented in 36 months, majority of the time over a 5-year lease, much of it has, the lease is burned off. So there's a little flexibility in the leases by natural provisions and operational time.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Lazarson? Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on the 33rd Street office lease? If not, this hearing is closed.
Borough of Queens, calendar number 14, Community District 2, N160277 PXQ, a public hearing in the matter of notice of intent to acquire office space concerning 1 Court Square.
And we welcome back to the stage Deputy Commissioner Friesen.
Good morning. I won't repeat what I said earlier, my testimony. I think I explained pretty much in detail why we're expanding, how we're expanding. We'll get back to you all about the budget number, the question that's asked. So I stand here to answer any questions.
Any other questions for the Deputy Commissioner? Mr. Cantor.
Thank you. With regard to the City Court Square building, as we know, they are building out the entire project on Greenwich Street, and it's my understanding that they're moving some people from Court Street to the city. Is that the space that you currently are looking towards, or is it additional space?
I believe it's the space, I just know they are vacating some of the space. It's City Core itself that's vacating the space that we are moving into. Where they're going, I'm not sure. Might be where you're, the place you're talking about, but I know they're looking to move some of their operations.
Would it be worthwhile or appropriate for your organization to approach city and find out what their longer-term plans are, because there may be available space in the future?
Yes, in
right
fact,
around the corner, so to speak.
yes, we definitely, we plan to have those discussions together with DCAS.
Have you had any as yet, or no?
I think they've opened the door to it. They've
Okay.
indicated an interest in us taking more of the space, definitely. However, it's not available just yet, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Deputy Commissioner? Thank you.
Thank you.
And Ms. Lazarson.
Good morning again. If I might just take a moment to expand upon the answer that Deputy Commissioner Friesen gave you. So the 1 Court Square building is not owned by city. It's owned by Savannah. City is the primary tenant since 1989, 100% occupancy. They still hold 100% tenancy under a lease. The proposed acquisition of office space in front of you is a sublease from city for 2 floors that they have put on the market. Thus far, city's intentions with with any relocation otherwise out of this building, perhaps to its forthcoming renovated campus on Greenwich that they just repurchased from SL Green, is to be determined. But I suspect that city will make the announcements of any available space or any changes to its operational staff locations when it finds that it's appropriate to announce that in the market. We, however, have already sat down with the prime owner, Savannah. So our proposed sublease for DOA will expire in 2020, and that is coterminous with city's existing lease. Now, city does have options as well to renew. But Savannah Real Estate is a very dynamic organization. They have some terrific stuff happening around the city. They are holders of real estate. They are developing new real estate. They are renovating real estate. Fantastic project in Brooklyn right now, they're renovating. Very sophisticated. We sat down with them. They're very much interested in having the city participate in many of its buildings. So while 4 years of a sublease seems like a long time, in our real estate timelines, it's not. And to answer your question?
Yes, thank you. Delighted to hear what you said.
Yes, yes. Okay, so one Court Square. As I mentioned, Savannah owns this building, 50 stories, as you heard. It's about 658 feet, if I calculate that correctly. 1.5 million square feet, office space. There's also a concourse level and some retail space. There are some amenities for the employees, including a gym and coffee house, et cetera. The vacancy rate in the building today. So from a tenancy perspective, there's no direct vacancy. The city continues to tenant the building. From a sublease perspective, thus far, the city has placed 2 floors on the market, which we are taking under this proposed acquisition. There is rumor of potentially some more space in the near-term future, potentially a 3rd floor. And obviously, for all city agencies, we'll look at that amongst other space when needed. DOH will take the entire 24th and 20th floor. It's approximately 50,000 square feet, which number may swing up or swing down depending on who measures it. So it's somewhere between 47,000 and 60 at this juncture. About 250 people are expected to occupy. And once again, this was a terrific opportunity. Timing was perfect, all the moons aligned. City is leaving the space for the city's use, fully furnished. There will be workstations available. It's built out. So I think that the needs will pretty much be, patch, paint, repair at best. So it's a quick occupancy, we hope. It should be relatively easy. Minor reservations, renovations.
Mr. Knuckles?
If you might, Ms. Lazarson, what's the per square foot cost on the lease?
Good.
Someone else wants to know. So on the proposed sublease, if I might refrain from answering that in the public purview, what I can tell you is that it is a fair and equitable deal for the city, and it includes, as I mentioned, the amenities of furniture, fixtures, and equipment. But we believe it's very, very fair for the short-term duration.
Let me ask that question a different way. Is there a substantial difference in rent between 33rd Street and Court Square?
There's about maybe $5, $6 a square foot, give or take. And I will offer that at the point in time when this transaction for the city pursuant to city processes moves forward, the financials will be disclosed during the 824 real property hearing. That would be scheduled prior to execution of any of these leases. It is in the memo to calendar for the board.
Ms. Efron?
Hi. The city has historically leased a great amount of square footage in Long Island City. What's the process for understanding the vacancy within city-owned spaces or the space utilization to know whether there's an opportunity for an agency to take over another agency's space? Is that something that goes directly through you, or
Yeah,
is there?
Yes, for any one of our negotiators in leasing, when we have a new assignment and the agency has a need, whether it's an expansion need, a renewal need, relocation need, whatever it be, in addition to looking in the private sector, we also look within the city's portfolio. Not only owned portfolio, the DCAS owned jurisdiction portfolio, but also other city agencies if they have vacancies, because most city leases, barring some exceptions, most city leases provide for the allowance to backfill, for lack of a better term, backfill vacant space with other city uses. Now, the city uses have to be consistent with the CFO and the professional nature of the existing space that we may propose to backfill. So yes, we look at that very carefully, of course, always. And because, and another thing too, there's in a situation like this for DOH, there's a benefit to that, because the need to deliver space very quickly, when we already have space within our portfolio, the delivery is much faster than procuring new space.
And if I can, just to follow up on the questions of the chair and the vice chair, is there a recently signed lease in Long Island City of comparable square footage that you can think of, that perhaps you can give us a percentage differential between what the rate is on this versus that?
So there are several recent transactions. I would say that for the 33rd Street building, the rates and the overall real estate package, any concessions, the term, the renewal options, all of that is right in line with what's happening in the area. With respect to the proposed sublease, to my knowledge, there has not been another sublease transaction in the near past that would be comparable, particularly given the amenities to be included in it.
Is it comparable to a Lower Manhattan lease?
Perhaps a city hall area.
Okay, thanks.
Actually, let me ask you the same question I asked about 33rd Street, which is, in your negotiations with Citicorp, have you obtained a right of first refusal on new space that they might put on the market?
No, not at this time. The city has its very strategic agenda with its real estate space, like many large corporations, and that is not something that has been offered on the table. However, toward that, once doing a deal, this is speculation on my part, but based on experience. When a large corporation has space for sublease and you have one tenant coming in, it's not uncommon to first go back to that tenant or to be interested in that same tenant to ask if they would like additional space, because the relationship, provided it's not adverse, it is now an informed one between the two, between both parties, and it could offer the shortest distance to execution, so the shortest distance to income to offset the financial deficit that the organization may still be holding. So there is the opportunity. We're optimistic about it. But again, that's why we're in the door right now with Savannah on a direct basis. We want to be first in that door. Should city choose to vacate its space when its lease ends, any of it, or know that we would have Savannah's support as consent, as the overlord, the master lord, should we choose to sublease more space from Savannah.
I mean, I certainly understand the desire and necessity, really, to be talking to Savannah at the same time you're talking to Citibank. I was really, or Citicorp, but I was really thinking of this interim period between now and 2020, when, as rumor has it, Citicorp may well put more space on the market, and since it doesn't have the same dynamic with an occupied building that 33rd Street has, it would seem fairly easy for the city to negotiate a right of first refusal on whatever space Citicorp put on the market between now and the time its lease expires.
I think you're correct. I absolutely agree with you. It would seem fairly easy. I could stand here and in the next 3 minutes write that paragraph of right of first refusal and every term and condition in it. But we're not driving that. Now, what I can tell you is, again, the conversations are there. If I put on City's hat, the corporate real estate executives at City, I would be looking at my subtenant who has credit standing, who I just did a deal with, the familiarity, all the things I just said, the shortened time frame to offset my financial deficit. I'd certainly want to reach out to them. But right now, the opportunity has not been presented to us. We will certainly maintain dialogue. Another thing, however, to one of Deputy Commissioner Reason's comments about staff count. The proposed 2 spaces, well, it would have been nice to have found one, but the market didn't provide that kind of square footage delivered as needed for this time frame to satisfy the requirement. The proposed 2 spaces will satisfy the intended and approved head count for a good period of time. So when we look at the risk of needing more space, while it certainly is on our criteria to monitor, we see that right now as a lower risk, given that some of the new headcount will actually go into Gotham. There are some seats in Gotham, to Gotham, but the overflow, as Ms. Carney eloquently put it on Monday, will be housed in these expansion spaces. So we think the risk of additional seats right now, Chairman, is relatively low.
Any other questions for Ms. Lazarson? Thank you, Ms. Lazarson.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to be heard on this particular matter? And if not, the hearing is closed. And Mr. Secretary, is there anything else to come before us today?
No, Mr. Chairman, there is not.
I will entertain from somebody a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Very enthusiastically proposed. And hearing no objection, we are adjourned.